What's up, mi gente? We're back at the Aquí, allá podcast. This is your host, David Flores. Thank you so much for having me here for episode 2. We're running it back. So let's get started right off. The top, we got saludos and check-ins. So we're gonna start us off with a check-in question that I posed to my class this past week. And our question for the week is, what makes a good friend? And what do you look for in a friend? So when I gave a sample answer to my students, I told them right off the top, I need somebody who's a real one. I need somebody who's honest, who's thoughtful, and at the same time, somebody who's empathetic and is gonna meet me halfway and understand me for who I am. Some of my closest homies, they have the perfect combination of accepting the person that I am and at the same time pushing me to be a better person. And I think we all need that balance in our lives, right? And I think, in addition to somebody who's a real one, I think everybody could benefit from a friend who's down, whether that's down to step in when you need a hand and be that community member that you can rely on, or somebody who's just down to have fun and go out and be different and not be judged. And I think something that I really try to emphasize to my students these days is, don't fall for the social media stuff. Don't fall for what you think you're supposed to live up to, the image you're supposed to put out to the world. Just really embrace your whole self, right? And the people who really rock with you, the people who really vibe with you, will see that and will fall in line and will find you, right? All right, so now moving on, we're gonna jump right into neighborhood news. So we got some big things going on. The most important thing right now, I think, is going on in LA. We got a combination of issues. The first being the LAPD and the LAPD completely gutting the LA city budget. They're currently facing over 120 claims of damages related to the anti-ICE protests that have gone on both in the summer and this past fall. And it's gotten to a point where, according to City Controller Mejia, the police have taken up about $3 billion worth of the LA city budget, which accounts for over 46% of our total budget. And when you take into account the fire departments as well, both the police and fire departments are making up over 62% of the LA city budget, while other vital services such as the Parks and Recs department or street services, for example, are being continuously neglected or underfunded. Uh, so, on a related topic, excuse me, on a related topic, LA taxpayers are also currently on the hook for the LA Olympics 28 budget. So, according to reporting from LAist, which is doing some great independent journaling here in LA, the LA 28 organization is 6 months overdue on a plan to compensate Los Angeles if they were to go over budget for things such as transportation and sanitation services and things of that nature. So while the Olympics is being built up by city officials as this wonderful event that's supposed to bring so much good to the county, to the city, in reality, it's looking like more of a liability at the moment. So we hope that our elected officials, and most importantly, this organization that's on the hook for the Olympics, is the ones providing the additional costs and additional coverage of these costs, and not LA taxpayers. All right, and then finally, got to give you all a recap of the big line ticket issue right now going on in our country, which is America's at war again. All right, so just to give you a quick refresher, at the end of February, both U.S. and Israeli joint forces went in and started attacking Iran, as well as Lebanon as well. And over the past few months, Iran has responded with various attacks on U.S. bases and specific resources in the Gulf region. A couple ceasefires have been claimed to be started, but unfortunately, it's just been a lot of talk and not a lot of actual negotiating and action going into place. It's gotten to a point now where the conflict doesn't really seem like it's being resolved. We have reports today that the U.S. will blockade the strait itself. So it's kind of all up in the air, folks, and we really don't know what's going to happen in this region. But we do know that at the moment, thousands of lives have been lost, and there's losses on every side of the war, including even with the U.S. And apparently, according to reports, we have 13 U.S. service members who have lost their lives. And just to give you a comparison, we have over 3,000 people who have lost their lives in Iran and over 2,000 people who have lost their lives in Lebanon due to Israeli attacks. So we hope that we can find peace soon in the region, especially for those places like Lebanon and Palestine that have continuously felt the repercussions of these wars. All right, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit, going from neighborhood news to noticias del otro lado, and talking about news in the diaspora. So a little bit of noticias del otro lado. We'll start off with protests in Venezuela. Muchas protestas ahorita. La gente está tratando de pelear por un sueldo digno. So people are just trying to raise their voices. And despite President Maduro being taken out by U.S. forces in the last months, nothing much has really changed in Venezuela. If not, things have actually gotten worse. There have been recent protests to speak up on the low wages that are really impacting Venezolanos at the moment. According to a report here that I found, minimum wage in Venezuela hasn't changed since March of 2022, with people being paid about 130 bolivares a month, which used to equate to about $30, but due to inflation, is about 27 cents on the dollar right now. So Venezuelans are really feeling the impact of a global crisis. And despite all these promises of brighter days ahead after the illegal ousting of Maduro, really the people who were supposed to benefit the most, Venezuelan citizens, are yet to see this reprieve. Now, according to labor leaders, these efforts, these protestas in Venezuela will continue through May 1st with the hope that a minimum wage can finally be accomplished. All right, moving on to similar news in the region, we're moving on to Peru. And Peru is currently holding elections. Actually, today, there were some issues with the voting, and hundreds of thousands of people in mostly Lima have now been allowed to cast a vote or re-vote in order to ensure that everyone's ballots have been counted. Now, the ballot is full, folks. We got over 20 candidates, possible candidates, running for the next leader of Peru, with a lady by the name of Keiko Fujimori leading the charge. And now she is the daughter of a former politician, former president, former dictator, many would say, in Peru. So she is definitely more of a right-wing approach. She has, according to reports, promised to restore order in her first 100 days if she were to win, sending members of the army to jail, deporting undocumented migrants, and strengthening security at the border. So a lot of the same language that's being used by both the United States and other right-wing governments in the region. In contrast, we have a labor leader like Belmont, who's a former mayor of Lima, running and currently polling in second place. And we have a bunch of candidates who are somewhere in between there. But we do see in Peru and in some countries in Latin America is, despite their kind of weak points in terms of worker rights and benefits for the common person, right-wing governments are seeming to gain some ground in places in Latin America simply due to their promises for attacking violence, which is an ongoing issue. And we have to question again, why is this violence so widespread? A lot of times it is fueled by the drug demand here in the U.S. And finally, wrapping up our Noticias del Otro Lado, we'll finish you off with some positive news. And we'll talk about Mexico and their recent approval of a universal healthcare plan. So there was a recent decree by President Sheinbaum for free, unified public healthcare for all 130 million citizens in Mexico. The program is aimed to start in January 2027. It's combining all three medical institutions in Mexico and allowing patients to really access any facility, regardless of their employment status. And the ultimate aim here by Scheinbaum and her administration is to just really improve access to medical care and really just streamline the current system. So, really encouraging news coming out of Mexico. We hope the U.S. can take from their playbook soon enough and implement a meaningful system like that in our country as well. So we're bringing in our first co-host of the Aquí, allá podcast, and we couldn't choose anybody else but our wonderful leader here at the Pasadena Job Center, Jose Madera. So thank you so much for joining us, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, just want to share with the people more than anything the legacy of the Pasadena Job Center, its widespread impact, and maybe some of the current issues that y'all are facing.
Yeah. Well, again, hello everybody. Wherever you're at, wherever you're seeing this, again, it's honored to be here with you, a good friend David, who I've known for many good years. We've done many great things. We played soccer together, and we're both Dina raised, Dina kids, and it's always a special thing when we can come together and do stuff, and especially for our community, right?
Yeah,
so
thanks.
cool. I'm very glad to be here. Again, yeah, my name's Jose Madera. I'm director here of the Pasadena Community Job Center. Born and raised here in Pasadena. Yeah, and the center has been here for over 20 years. It's a place where day laborers can come and connect with employers in a very safe and just way. Again, fighting against wage theft, fighting against discrimination. Also, where day laborers can come and get different type of health and safety training, worker training, workers' rights training, also migrant rights training, and many different things. But also a special place where people connect. People come from many different places, and they come here, and it's like their second home. Many workers come and say, "Hey, this is my second home," and just because of the history that they have here, the connections, the bond that they've had here, the jobs and work that they've gotten, and just also being involved within the community. There's been many different type of campaigns that have come here from the center. Minimum wage here in Pasadena, rent control. Again, these things that affect a lot of day laborers, but also affect the whole community. So it's always very important for the day laborers here to be like, you know what, we gotta support our community, and this is how we do. We fight. We fight with our voices. We fight with marching, with our music, with our art, and that's something that the workers are very proud of. And especially now, especially this past year, which has been very tough on all of us in many different ways. One, first with the fire. Since we're very close to Altadena, a lot of the workers had a lot of work in Altadena. A lot of the houses that you see in Altadena, the workers worked on the garden, worked painting, different walls, cleaning, many different things that the workers do. They were doing it a lot in Altadena. So they had a lot of connections. There's some workers who had been working with an employer for 15 years. And there's a few workers who basically lost 10 houses during the fire. And that's like, more than a week of work. And then we also have workers here that live in Altadena, rent in Altadena. So the center was affected in many ways. But right after the fire, when the next day, when workers were coming into the center, some were saying, again, this is all I owned. The workers got together and said, well, what can we do as a community? What can we do as a center that have been here serving these communities for over 20 years? And we see that, people have lost everything. People are going through this traumatic situation and moment. How can we support? And workers are like, well, we have our tools, we have our hands, and we can go and clean up that tree that's blocking the fire trucks going up and down, because we have a fire station right outside the center, and we just kept seeing all day fire trucks going up and down. Also people just going evacuating, and then there was a tree that had fallen, and the workers said, well, we have this chainsaw, let's go and cut it up. So that's what the workers did. They cut it up, and it was about 20 workers. They cut it up, move it to the side, and then they're like, you know what, there's a tree up the street, let's go and cut that one up. And they went and they cut it up, and they put it to the side. People were able to use the road, and then there's another tree on around the corner. So we all just kept marching that day, tree by tree, street by street. And that's, well, let's do this again tomorrow. We know there's so much trees in Pasadena that have fallen, green waste that has fallen. So that's how the fire relief brigade started.
And it became like a citywide, like such a intense, organized, widespread operation. Like it was so beautiful to see, man. Like I was a part of it. I tell my students I was a part of it for about 3 days, and I was ready to throw in the towel just because like the work was so demanding, man. But it was so beautiful to see the community come together. And like you mentioned, it really just starts with people taking initiative and starting what's within their locus of control, right? And it first started on the block, and we'll go one block farther. And tell us a little bit about what was the end result of that brigade.
So one, I think the city, because basically all streets in Pasadena and Altadena, right, there were a lot of green waste. And Pasadena, the city said to do the cleanup was going to take like 8 weeks or something like that. But because we had the day laborers and we had the volunteers like yourself, and there was about 12,000 volunteers that came throughout those 2 months. Um, yeah, but the city said it was gonna be cleaned up like in 8 weeks or so. We were able to do it in 4 weeks, and there was about over 3,000 tons of green waste that the workers picked up and going street by street. And given again this time right in January, where we were preparing and we didn't know the uncertainty of again Trump going into power, right? He ran in with mass deportation, and we were preparing, organizing different know your rights workshops, passing out the information, getting comités organized. But then the fires happened, and then that's where the shift and to support the community and the dealers. No, we gotta support the community, even with the risk of us not knowing what's gonna happen when we hit the streets. Right. So as they were going block to block, they weren't asking the people that live there, hey, who did you vote for this last election, or do you have papers, or what's your political stance on this? It's just I know we gotta go and help and clean, pick this up, and go on to the next street. And yeah, everything was cleaned up. It was a beautiful thing because people came from all over, like San Gabriel Valley, all over from LA. Also, people came from Texas, and I met people from Texas, from Arizona. And they're like, "Hey, I saw this video, and I wanted to come and support it. And I saw what y'all were doing, and I wanted to go there." It's like, "All right, cool." We even had this one fire crew from firefighters from Canada that came.
Wow.
And they were also going around, hey, we have chainsaws too, and they had like powerful, like big chainsaws. Like, yeah, well, there's this big tree over here, and they went with day laborers, and it was really dope. Yeah, and it was just again building community when a disaster happens. Mutual aid things that pop up. And again, we had our food bank that has been going since the pandemic, which is called Mano a Mano. And then that turned into emergency hub where fire survivors were coming, getting essential items, food, grocery, eggs, milk, water. At that time, no one could drink the water in Pasadena, Altadena. And then shoes, clothing. Again, people lost everything, so people were donating shoes and clothing, and the day laborers were passing them out along with the volunteers. And again, it just created this again sense of community, sense of solidarity amongst all this political climate. The day laborers were showing us the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like is typically the case, it's always workers leading the way, right? Mm-hmm. And first of all, shout out to everything y'all have been doing for a number of reasons, but just immediately what you were speaking of, that moment inspired my students at Pasadena High School to start their own thrift store. And ever since the fires, we have a PHS thrift store. Now I'm the thrift club advisor. Yeah. But we kind of use some of the same strategies that we saw being done here at the Job Center, and really reaching out to the community partners. And we've really been getting a huge amount of donations and just traction in the community. And we were really the kids were able to help a lot of their classmates who were displaced, who were short on supplies, on clothes, really get back on their feet. So I just really want to thank y'all because, that exposure that the Job Center got really opened some eyes around the community, around the country. But there's like some immediate effect here with the kids. So thank y'all so much for doing that. And then kind of a transition question too. It almost seems like, destiny with things and everything that came together during this tragedy with the fires kind of prepared the community and the Job Center for the fight that was ahead, right, in the summer. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what that's been like.
Yeah, so we always say, right, we went from fire to ice in just 1 year in the span of a few months, right? So yeah, and like I mentioned, we were preparing, a lot of organizations and community members were preparing the year before. Again, with Trump running in mass deportation campaign, we were preparing again, passing out information, doing workshops, having the community, giving them the resources to organize themselves, organize their block, organize their apartment building. And then again, the fires happened. But yeah, like you mentioned, like it got people like, hey, we need each other. Whatever happens, we need each other. And that's why we always say, solo el pueblo, solo el pueblo. Only the village saves the village. Because again, when the government's failing you, and during the fires, government wasn't there, the federal government wasn't there. There was that time that and I want to share the story. As the workers were going to clean, there was this one homeowner who came out and just was thanking all the workers, all the volunteers, and they were just like appreciating. And they were like, I've been calling the city for weeks now, and I haven't got any response about this cleanup or this tree that had fallen right in front of my house. But y'all just came out of nowhere, and y'all are picking everything up. So it's like y'all are the government, y'all are the people that run the city. And that was really special. The day laborers came and they told us that story, and they were very proud of themselves too. So when, again, the federal government, the courts are failing us, it's only us. So I think with the fires, again, Pasadena and Altadena, they're very tight community. We know each other. We go to the same schools. We play sports a lot. All of us have played at Farnsworth Park or Charles White. People have played at Villa Park. So we all know each other. And again, when there's a disaster, something that happens, or someone passes away in a family, community comes and does GoFundmes, or like community does different things that they sell food. They do a food sale, and people show up. And now with this big disaster, people were showing up. People were supporting. Hey, where can I go? Where can I go to support or give out stuff or go clean stuff? And then we were all still, amongst all that work, still uncertain. Hey, we were starting to see the different raids happening in LA, and we saw social media and the videos, and we're just like uncertain, preparing, just like anxiously, man, is it gonna happen here? We did hear earlier in the year, like, hey, they weren't gonna touch fire zones or disaster zones, but we knew, like, hey, that's what they're saying, but we're still preparing, we're still organizing. But then when it happened, the first raid happened at Winchell's, Los Robles and Orange Grove. Like it was a shockwave. Like everyone saw the video. Everyone, hey, that's the Winchell's. Hey, that's Los Robles. Hey, that's that bus stop. Hey, it's right next to Madison Elementary. Hey, it's next to that haircut place. People like saw their community. I go to that barbershop, or I go to that Winchell's, or I go to the El Rancho, or I go to Dina Burgers. Like, hey, that's our community. And then it's first it was the shock, and then like, okay, no, we got to do something. And I think that day people came together, faith organizations, churches, or community organizations, and just people that were around, like went to that spot to find out what happened, who was taken, so we can provide support. And then later on, the center organized a vigil. And those vigils are very important because one, we didn't know everyone that was taken. We were still trying to find who was taken. We had like two information, and we were able to contact two of the families. But then there, a family came out and, hey, that was my family member. So then we were able to connect with them, give them the legal support and other support that they needed. But also people were pissed.
Yeah.
The anger and the energy that people were having, they wanted to do something. And I think there's probably like 400 people that came that day. And all, people were angry, rightfully so, outraged. And we brought a mobile truck with the Jornaleros del Norte, and that helped also channel that energy, channel that feeling into like this one community. Like, hey, now we're gonna fight this, and we're gonna support the families that were affected, and the families there were seeing, hey, you're not alone. And that was the message, like, you're not alone. Yeah, you have all this community with you. And again, with music, with dancing, we were organizing, and I think that's where also people were able to connect. And that's where what we see now with the rapid response teams and the community defense corner. That's how people connected and kept building that. So that was beautiful, again, and that's why we bring music and we bring this type of energy so people can organize, especially with the people that were most affected.
Absolutely. And on the positive side, like, while it was like so stressful and traumatic in the moment to get all that stuff together and kind of learn how to like approach these situations, I know firsthand I had an interaction with an ICE agent at Villa Park, and it was just like, it still kind of shakes me to this day. But I think, ultimately the power is that, standing up and figuring it out together and sharing everything that we learned along the way with every community we're a part of, I think really like set the stage for other communities really being able to also advocate for themselves and step up and take action, right? So maybe you can speak of some of the stuff that we did here that later kind of carried on to other communities.
Yeah, well, one is the vigils, and also I think one big thing that started here, among many things, right, is the hotels. I think at the AC Hotel here in Pasadena, in Colorado, it's one of those new hotels. We got word that ICE agents were staying there, and we got all these alerts. So then community members, we went to the hotel and started asking questions. One thing that we noticed is a lot of the workers weren't there. And there was like a few people just like going and trying to do everything, and then we were trying to talk to them and ask them, hey, what happened? And then they told us, well, there's ICE agents here, and they were questioning the housekeepers, asking them for IDs in a very aggressive way. And you're like, what? And so, which was very cool, is the management sent them home, sent a lot of the workers home. So that was really cool to see that solidarity. But yeah, like what? Like they were asking, like the people that were cleaning your rooms, that were taking care of you, that were cooking for you, you come and then you ask them, hey, let me see your ID.
Yeah.
Are you from here? Like the audacity of that. So once we got word of that and it's confirmed, okay, ICE is here, word spread and community members just came and were just coming and then we also had the band came and started playing, and then people just throughout the day just kept coming, and the message was, hey, we're not leaving until ICE leaves.
And we're not going to stop making noise either, right?
Yeah, we're going to keep making noise. We're going to keep playing our music, making noise, doing chants, whatever noise we need to make to get them out. So it was pretty much the whole day we were there. Which was also cool was the solidarity amongst the businesses around.
Yeah.
There's businesses that were giving us water, like hey, they saw what was happening, and they were like, you know what, it's hot, here's some water. Um, Also, they gave us food, they gave us cookies and
Oh.
things, and I got a message that someone wrapped a cookie from one of the businesses there, and it wrote, "Thank you for what you're doing,"
Mhm.
and that was just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful to see. And yeah, and people just kept coming, and then we also marched around, chanting. I think it was probably like 300 people too that came, and it was intergenerational. We saw youth there, just like, yeah, no, ICE cannot be here. We cannot, ICE cannot sleep here to go and take someone out, take and kidnap someone in another community. They're like, nah, that's not gonna happen here in Dina. So yeah, we stayed there till I think till 5 or something, and then we got word that they were going to leave. They were waiting to leave, and they were parked in the parking lot. And then again, we were just waiting for them to leave. And then finally, and people were just all over the hotel. And then we got, well, hey, they're coming down, they're coming down. And they were like, they knew we were all over the place. So
Yeah.
they were, trying to be sneaky and stuff. And then we just saw them coming down, and people just kind of, that viral video of us like chasing them down. And then there was like, I don't know, 5 cars or something. They just like went and left, and we were all like cheering there. Like,
Yeah. That was such a beautiful moment. Yeah,
Mhm.
like I think those are the little moments that people hold on to, because we're fighting a machine, So
Yeah.
a lot of the time, referencing Professor Stovall, who I just went to a education conference to, is like a lot of this work is like guerrilla warfare.
Mhm.
It's it's like being intentional and tactical and
Mhm.
chipping away at the battle. And I just really admire the efforts that y'all are making, because it's all grassroots efforts. It's all
Yeah.
community based. It's all intergenerational, interfaith, diverse, right? Cross ethnic, cross cultural.
Yeah, and the movement later on, right? They called it "No Sleep for ICE." So then other communities, and I saw that later. I think the next day or 2 days
Yeah.
in Monrovia, Rosemead, I think Duarte,
Yep.
the community there, people that live there were like, we don't want ICE here neither. So then they went to hotel and started making noise, whatever noise they can, even just like with pans, just da, da, da,
Yep.
da. People brought like a trumpet, and they were just like, we don't want ICE here, and it just spread, and it went to all other states too, and again. And I think that's what's been happening too. Like all over, we learn from each other.
Absolutely.
Wherever the fight's at, we're learning from each other. And we saw different tactics when they went to Chicago, they went to the Carolinas, and then went to Minnesota. We're all learning from each other. And then we're also, as LA, learning from Chicago, Minnesota, Carolinas, and everywhere they're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just beautiful work to see everybody coming together and fighting for justice. Like you said, solo el pueblo salva el pueblo. So we gotta do it for ourselves. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you not only sharing some of the history of the job center, but the important work that is going on today, and ultimately just like the widespread impact it's having and how uplifting it is to see spaces like this in our community. Coming from somebody who grew up here, who didn't always know about what was going on at the job center. Has really inspired me to immerse myself in the work here and be as much of a part of it as I can. And I really tell my students, like these are the kind of spaces we need in our community, because the government's never going to come and save us. It's us who are always going to save ourselves, right? So thank you for all that you do. And shout out to everybody who's a part of the Pasadena Job Center and the National Day Laborer Network. And yeah, take care, brother.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. For our last segment, we got local spots, donde apoyar. And I'm bringing in the homie Pedro, because the homie Pedro always puts me on spots. So I'm like, let's just have him put everybody on spots. So take it away, Pedro. What you got for us this week?
I got, first of all, thank you for giving me this space to talk about food, about everything in the world. And I want to highlight a spot in SGV and a spot in LA. So the first spot I want to highlight is Caribbean Gourmet out in Blossom Market in St. Gabriel. And they do Caribbean food. She does Guyanese. She's Guyanese, so she does Caribbean food, her style. Go visit Auntie Yanet.
Okay.
And yeah, she has some solid plates. Jerk chicken, oxtail, all the classics. The beef patty's fire. Don't forget to ask for a little hot sauce.
Okay.
Little hot spot in it, little spicy. And the second spot I want to highlight is Comal. It's out in historic South Central in Paloma Market.
Yeah.
It's a really dope spot. You've been, right?
Yeah. And then Paloma Market in general is just dope. They have like a wide array of options. So
yeah, like there's, like you said, Chichen Itza, Holbox, like a couple of hawking spots out there. But Comal is a really interesting spot because they're the first artisanal molino in LA. So they import all the corn from Oaxaca and Southern Mexico, and they nixtamalize it, and then they grind it themselves. So you're really getting like the freshest masa you get. You really taste like the corn when you're eating the quesadillas and tacos and everything.
And they're really intentional about like each plate comes with a different style of corn, right?
Yeah.
Depending on what it
Yeah,
is.
you get the blue, you get the yellow. I think they have a white, a red. So like, and then you get to see like how everything tastes different and how everything, each corn is used in a different way. But their quesadillas are fire. They have like a flor de calabaza, huitlacoche. Tried the longaniza one this weekend. Really fire. Tacos are fire. They have tacos de suadero.
Yep.
They have a new taco de costilla. They put a little french fries on top.
Okay.
Little salsa cruda.
Fire. Y'all see why I bring this man here? He's starting us off right, folks. He's already got two spots for us. All right, folks. So yeah, I think now you know what to look out for. We're looking at Caribbean Gourmet, San Gabriel, and we got Comal in historic LA. So thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you, dog. And see you next time.